Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I am your host, Lonnie Jones. My wife Jackie and I moved to the city of Huntsville in 1986 for me to be a youth and family minister. I have been a minister since 1980. I have served in this community as a police chaplain assigned to a SWAT team since 1992, and I've been in private practice as a licensed professional counselor since 1998. I'm also an adventure educator and an avid outdoorsman. I dabble in rock climbing and I goof around with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Our life has been full of many wonderful experiences and some just outright adventures. I used to write about those things in a little church bulletin article. So now instead of asking you to read those things, we're just going to talk about them in our podcast. And as we talk about them, we're going to talk about the facts. The facts lead to concepts, and the concepts lead to application. One caveat about the facts is, for the most part, we're going to tell you the facts just as they happened. But every now and then, we're going to tell you the way other people have told us they remember it happening with a little bit of embellishment. It's all good, clean fun and for educational purposes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy Keeping Up with Jones. Years ago, one of my mentors made the distinction between simply preaching and actually ministering to people. He told me people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When I became a full-time youth and family minister, I realized how inadequately prepared I was for dealing with the complex challenges facing youth, parents, and families. I honestly cared, but I was not competent. Today's ministers can become better equipped to meet this challenge through the Master of Arts in Family Life Ministry offered by Faulkner University. This program integrates prevention-oriented strategies as well as intervention strategies within a church setting, focusing on counseling skills. All these courses may be completed online from the convenience of your home or workplace and at a time that is convenient to the schedule of the student. There is a 50% discount for the members of the Church of Christ. Now, although this program is not designed to fulfill any requirements toward becoming a licensed counselor, it is designed to thoroughly equip the minister by providing courses including but not limited to the skills required for counseling couples, families in crisis, as well as dealing with family dynamics, human intimacy, sexuality, parent and character education, as well as church assessments. If you're interested in more information, contact faulkner.edu/KGST. That is faulkner.edu/KGST. KGST stands for Curley Graduate School of Theology. You can also contact graduate enrollment at faulkner.edu with any questions or to explore the eligibility requirements for the tuition discount. Graduate enrollment at faulkner.edu. Faulkner University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. TKM Incorporated in Moss, Tennessee is a construction company that specializes in erosion control, seeding, and soil, hydroseeding, hydromulch, minor excavation, and silt fence. They also provide traffic control and construction signs. Their business is keeping people safe, but their passion, their mission, is they wish that all men could be saved. TKM has adopted the nickname the King's Men because as they serve you, they also serve the King. If they could provide any of their services for you, please contact them at 931-243-3958. That is 931-243-3958. Or you can contact them on the net at tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. That is tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. TKM Incorporated is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. I've never been super susceptible to poison oak, poison ivy, or poison sumac. It typically hadn't really bothered me. I used to keep it fought back on the ropes course and would pull it off trees with my fingers, both on Kill Mountain, and then the poison oak or poison ivy would hide itself in the Virginia creeper on the Wellstone course. And I've typically never been bothered by it. Now, Jackie's super, super sensitive to it. I can drag a rope through poison oak or poison ivy on the side of a cliff that we've been climbing or rappelling, and I can coil the rope on my shoulders. And then if Jackie washes my shirt, she will get poison oak or poison ivy off of my shirt. She's super susceptible to it. I could probably spell it and she'd start to itch. Well, the exception to this is I got a bad case of it one time. I was in Arkansas and I was hunting behind Granny Wallace's place, and I walked out into the woods in the dark, and I was using an old man vision tree climber, and I strapped it to this tree and I climbed up in the dark, and I couldn't get my tree stand to sit level. And it just wouldn't sit level. There was something going on and I couldn't figure it out in the dark. And I waited till the sun came up. And when the sun came up, I realized that was what was making my tree stand unlevel, was this very large gray fuzzy vine. There was nothing green growing on it. And so I thought, well, this, whatever it is, it's got to be dormant. It's in the middle of winter. And so I had this little folding saw in my backpack, and I pulled it out and I sawed this vine in such a way that my climbing stand would fit between it. Now, I'm not sure what the vine was. I'm not sure it was poison oak or poison ivy or poison sumac. I think it's probably the dreaded necrotizing version of some toxicodendron vine that grows in Arkansas. Whatever it was, when you take that vine and you reduce it to a fine sawdust powder and it gets into your glove and is mixed with sweat, it becomes not only potent but violent. I concocted or caught what is the equivalent of epidermal leprosy. And I couldn't get any relief for it. Jackie wouldn't touch me. We had guests over to the house that year for Christmas, and I had to tape my hands up. It's not only on my hand, on the back of my hand and my thumb, it's on my wrist, on my forearm. It burned, it stung, it vexed me. After serious consideration, I believe that I could argue that Paul's thorn in the flesh could have been poison ivy. Oh, I had shots, I had creams, I had oils, I had pills, I had baths, I had scrubs. I got zero relief. This thing plagued me for weeks. And weeks later, I was hunting with my good friend Jim Goins. He came over to the house and picked me up early in the morning, and we drove up on top of Putnam Mountain, and we wandered off into the woods together, and we hunted. Well, at lunchtime, we came out of the woods to have a snack at the truck or eat a sandwich or something. And as we got ready to start deciding if we were going to hunt again or not, I told Jim, I said, I got to go home. I can't stay and hunt. My hand is on fire. It is killing me. Well, apparently my plight was something that Jim took pity on. Okay, pity's a strong word. But he said, we used to do this home remedy for the babies when they had diaper rash. We used to have this thing that we'd make a paste out of dirt dauber's nest, and we would put it on the diaper rash, and it would fix the baby's diaper rash. And maybe, just maybe, we could put some of that on your arm, and it would give you enough relief that you could hunt. Well, I was in such misery that I tried it. We walked around his property on the side of the old barn there. We found some dirt dauber nest. I broke them up carefully and poured water on them and used my knife and made a paste. And after we made enough paste, I applied it to my arm. And then when this concoction had dried, we took an old T-shirt that I had ripped up and we wrapped around it. I regloved myself and walked back out into the woods and hunted until dark. Well, after dark, I got out of the woods and Jim said, well, how'd you poultice work? And I'm not really sure that it helped, but it didn't hurt anything. So I said, well, I certainly hope this works because I've never heard of treating poison ivy with a dirt dauber's nest. To which Jim replied, well, I never have either. I sure hope your hand doesn't fall off, but I sure didn't want to quit hunting. It was such a beautiful day. I didn't want to stop. So I just thought I'd help you do something to take your mind off of it so you could endure the rest of the day. I never got mad at Jim. I did get mad at myself for being an idiot. And it probably just proves that people who are in misery, people who are in enough pain, often believe the many lies that are supposed to bring them happiness or relief. When I did my practicum for my master's degree, I was sentenced to Cedar Lodge. I was assigned to attend Cedar Lodge. Cedar Lodge is a drug rehabilitation place, and I would spent one night a week for 18 weeks at Cedar Lodge. And one night we were in the group meeting, and one of the men who was struggling with substance use problems described being an addict. He said, "I can tell you what it's like to be an addict. Being an addict is like having a hole in your soul that the cold wind blows through. Imagine a hole in your soul that you can't feel, a pain you can't relieve, a feeling you can't stop, or a feeling that you want to create but you can't experience. And if you experience those kind of pains, those kind of hurts, you will believe the message. You believe any message that says, hey, take this, have this, own this, drink this, think this, do this, and you'll get relief. And I guess it's really understandable how you would use a made-up remedy one time. But how do you take a false remedy? How do you take a placebo poultice? And how do you repeat that mistake? You see, we create associations between experiences and feelings and experience create associations. The problem is that the made up, the placebo, the false remedy gets connected, married to, welded to, bonded to our experiences, and we associate the feeling of tension, trapped, or trauma to the substance we choose to use or the behavior we choose to participate in. And it's really not a question of what you use, but rather the feelings you feel or the thoughts you have when you make the decision to use. That's the key to addiction. Now, I'm not an addictions counselor. I've never been addicted, and the folks on the substance use disorder community side of things, they like to protect their turf. I often hear people say, only people with lived experience can understand or treat this. Only people who have been addicted can treat addictions. In my defense, I'd like to say I've never been a deer either. But my freezer is full of them, and I have the heads and the antlers to prove I understand what they do that gets them killed. You see, when there is a hole in your soul and you seek to fill it, the feeling and the false fulfillment are the key to understanding and breaking addiction. If I discover, if I try something that promised to help me feel or not feel, as the case may be, and if it works just a little, if it works but only temporarily, I will repeat the behavior or I will increase the volume. Increasing the volume or repeating the behavior means I have to do it more or I have to do it more often. And what gets repeated gets ingrained. And then there's this cycle. And that cycle is so linked with a perception of survival that it's almost impossible to break. You see, the substance or the behavior is inconsequential. That's not the issue. But the feelings or the thoughts we have when we decide to use or do is the actual key to understanding addiction. Those feelings or thoughts that are linked to the survival thinking, and the survival thinking is linked to the survival behavior. And if it gets linked to survival, it's almost unbreakable. And all of us are vulnerable to anything that promises to fill the hole, cure the pain, ease the discomfort, assuage the guilt, stop the feeling, or create a feeling we desperately want to have but can't identify, much less experience. The feeling of peace or calm or acceptance or satisfaction. So the cure for addiction is not to treat the substance we use or the behavior we have, but the cure for addiction is understanding the emptiness we're trying to fill, the pain we're trying to heal, or the feelings we can't escape, or the feelings we can't experience. Now, those ideas are probably buried deep in our memories, and the association we have between that feeling and our habit is probably not a conscious one. In fact, I would call it non-conscious rather than subconscious. It's almost like an inadvertent Pavlovian connection. The guy who rang the bell and fed the dogs, and when he would ring the bell and feed the dogs would salivate. And at some point during the experiment, he could ring the bell and there'd be no food and the dogs would still salivate. The dogs had connected on a very base level that the ringing of the bell equaled the presence of food, but even with the food absent, the ringing of the bell would cause them to salivate. When we have trauma, disappointment, pain, or emptiness associated with these feelings, but those feelings get attached to a substance or behavior, then anytime we have a similar feeling, we react to it just the same. And this association is not real, but rather subconsciously or non-consciously or inadvertently created. But the connection is contrived. It's not real. It's a made-up remedy. It's probably not a connection that can be articulated. We really aren't aware on a conscious level that there's this rule that says when I feel like or I don't feel like, then I use this or do this. It's such an ingrained process that it's never actually questioned unless you bring it to light. Unless somebody asks you how that poultice work. You see, when analyzed in the harsh light of reality, we end up realizing that we are treating or retreating a past wound with a substance that never actually worked. But somehow we got the idea and kept the idea that it would make us better, if not at least make us feel better. You can't heal a dermatological infection with larvae, dead spider parts, and dirt. I should be smart enough to know that. But when you're in constant pain, you'll try anything once. So, in case you haven't tried it, let me save you the trouble. You won't become more valuable with possessions. You won't find comfort in hurting the people who hurt you. You won't find comfort in hurting others just because you were hurt. You won't be more important by making other people feel less. Getting attention because you demand it is not the same as people actually caring for you. You can't heal an emotional wound with a chemical. And you can't fill a spiritual void with anything that is earthly. Those are placebos. It means those remedies make us think they work, but they don't actually work. Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3Ws and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.